I think the refugee crisis in Europe has brought home a conflict between the principles of political sovereignty and the universal obligations that sovereigns are supposed to have in respect of refugees and migrants. And as countries roll up barbed wire, as they shut their frontiers down, it seems to me they're abandoning their universal obligations. And the universal obligations matter because they're not just for refugees, they're for all of us. And so one of the things we should worry about is that if you shut down your universal obligations to this group of refugees, who knows, the day may come when we may need those protections ourselves and they won't be there. I think this battle between state policy and ordinary compassion is being fought out right across Europe. It's being fought out in Germany at the moment. There's a popular reaction of great generosity towards refugees. There's also Pegida and the right weighing in on the right, and there's Mrs. Merkel in the middle trying to hold it together. And under the pressure of numbers, the principle of putting sovereignty first is trumping or prevailing over universal obligations. And I think that's dangerous. There has to be a better balance, and the balance has shifted in the wrong direction, which has two negative consequences. The European Union is an attempt to get beyond sovereignty to some forms of continental collaboration. That whole structure is now in danger. The other thing is that there are a lot of people fleeing persecution, war, and violence who have nowhere else to go. And I just think any decent liberal democratic state, or any kind of state whatever, has obligations to people who've got nowhere else to go. And so this is the drama that Europe has to resolve. And at the moment it's solving it one country at a time. The European cooperation and collaboration that we'd hoped for has not happened. And if that goes on too much longer, Europe is destroyed. Self-evidently, it's not, the refugee crisis is not just a European problem. One of the things I've been saying since the beginning of the crisis is that the United States can't stand by and pretend this is happening on another planet, and that's what it's been doing. Some of American policies in the Middle East have contributed to the refugee flow, let's be frank. My country, Canada, has stepped up, and it's taking 25,000 refugees, and that's a great thing. But as a German and Austrian diplomat said to me recently, 25,000 for us, that was Thursday. Literally, the intake of those two countries in one day was 25,000 people. So let's get real. Everybody has to. This is a burden-sharing exercise for Europe, but it's also a burden-sharing exercise for the international community. And in the wake of San Bernardino and in the wake of the terrorist attacks in Paris, every country is simply shutting its borders, and that's a disaster. Every one of these refugee crises becomes a crisis of democratic consent. And then there's a battle in public opinion about whether generous impulses or conservative and conservative is the wrong, or reactionary impulses prevail. And I think that battle is still being fought in Western Europe. It's not over. I think there is evidence, this is not just ideology, there's evidence to show that societies that have generous immigration policies and let in refugees are societies that tend to stimulate innovation, tend to stimulate growth, tend to stimulate more robust and adaptive labor markets. Eastern Europe at the moment thinks that it can have rapid economic growth to catch up with Western Europe while remaining closed and monoethnic. That's essentially what this is about. One thing I've said repeatedly is that everybody sees this as a crisis, a threat, terrible, awful, all the language is pessimistic. But if you flip it on its head, the thing that stares you in the face is that millions and millions of people are dying to get to tired old Europe. They're dying to get to tired old Europe because Europe is free. Europe is dynamic. Europe has constitutional freedom. These are things people are prepared to die for. In a weird way, the refugees are telling us what it is about this continent that we love and care about. And so I think they deserve a warmer welcome.